This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. So in today's session, let us understand about the cursors in collections. We call it as cursors, okay, or iterators. So we have different kind of iterators to iterate through the collection. To iterate through the collection. So yesterday we have seen uh, linked list and array list, also vector. We are comfortable with that. And if you remember, we have added the element to the array list, okay, like this, and then we printed the list directly here. You observe this, we have printed the list directly. So how it is going to print, you know, run as Java application. So it's going to give the data in this way, okay. So by default, the print logic, if you print the reference of that particular list, so you are going to see the data as an array result, okay. But my scenario is something like different, okay. So I wanted to iterate through a list of elements, iterate through the list of elements one by one, element by element, object by object. And then I wanted to do some processing. I wanted to do I wanted to add some more logic for a particular element or particular object based on my requirement. Okay. So for example, I have students. Okay. I have list of students. List of students. I wanted to send an email to all the students. To all the students who do not, okay, who do not pay the fee yet, something like basic requirement, okay. So I am getting all the student objects from the database for this requirement, okay. So first I should have the student data, right? So that's from where I get that. So I will read, okay, so retrieve all student data from the database, all the student data from the database. And I got the data now. So out of the students, say I have 100 students, out of 100 students, so now I wanted to verify the students, only the students who did not pay the fee, So what I'll have to do now? So I am going to iterate through students one by one, okay. I'm going to iterate through the students one by one, and I will check each student, the student is paid the fee, or if he pays the fee, how much he paid and what is the balance amount. I'm going to calculate that. And then, okay, and then I will have to process it. I'll have to send an email or send a message or whatever it is, okay. So basically iteration process, it's a looping process, okay. Whatever we are going to do is we are going to loop through the students one by one. We're going to loop through the students one by one, okay. So till all my I did my job for all the students, okay. So that is what the logic, whatever the logic here, that is going to keep executing for all the students, and here my logic, the processing logic. So in such cases we need these cursors helps, okay, to iterate through them, okay. You can use basic loops, right? For loop or while loop, okay. If you want, you can use that also, but iterators helps in a better way, okay. So we have different iterators to do this job. So that's what we are going to discuss today. Okay, so let me write new class file. example of iterators. All right. Okay, you can take any example for now. Basic example, just I'm going through simple thing. Style is equal to new array list. Not right. Java.util list dot add of 10, list dot add of 20, list dot add of 30, list dot add of, okay, so 25, okay, list dot add of 35. So okay, so I have this data. Okay, I have this data. Now I wanted to iterate the list of elements. I wanted to iterate the list of elements. So how do I do that? So that is where we have a support of iterators. Okay, so we have support of iterator. So where we can call that iterator on top of your list object, the collection object. Okay, so here you can see a method iterator. You have list iterator. We'll speak about the list iterator again. So let's understand about the iterator. So if you call this method iterator method, this is going to return me an iterator. This is what the return thing. Okay, so I'm going to get the iterator object here. I'm going to get the iterator object. Once you got the iterator object, java.util iterator, just importing it. Once you got the iterator object, so I can iterate through that. So it has few methods. Okay, iterator dot. Okay, iterator dot. You have methods has next or next. Okay, so has next. This is going to tell us whether it has the next element or not. So it's going to it takes the first initially the iterator points to before the first record. Before the first record. Audio is muted. No, it's fine. No? Okay, so it points to the first record. So you have data 10, 20, 30, 25, 35, right? The first record is first element is what? 10. So initially the iterator points to before the first element. Before the first element. Okay, before the first element. So when you say has next, the cursor moves to the next element. The cursor moves to the next element. Okay, the cursor moves to the next element, and it checks whether the next element it has the next element or not. So if you see the elements 25, 35, so cursor will be pointing to here. First cursor will be pointing to before the first element. Before the first element. First element is what? 10, 20, 30, so etc. So before the first record, before the first element. Okay, so it points. So now 35, right? So when you say has next, it is going to check it has the next element or not. Yes, it has the next element. It has the next element. So it evaluates to true and it gets inside. Okay, it gets inside. It gets inside. Now, so once you get inside, you can access the element using next. So there is something called next. Okay, next. So this will return me the available element, the next element 10. I'm going to get 10 here. I'm going to get 10 here, and this 10 is again, it is the return type of these methods. The next method return type is what? So object. Okay, this is the iterator class. Okay, so the return type of this is object type. So this is what on the list iterator it is going to, okay, on the list class it is going to return object type. Okay, object type. So just take that into object. Okay, Now just you can print that object for now, and we'll continue more discussion. Okay, so here has next. Okay, it verifies the next element is available or not. If the next available is next element is available, then gets into this, and it will access that particular object and prints it. Again it goes back as it's a while loop, and again it checks for the next element. Again after this, now cursor is here. Again it will check has next, it dot has next. If it has the next element, yes, then it will return true, and it gets inside. And continue further. Now as soon as you say next, it accesses this particular element, that will print. Again cursor is here. Now it goes back and checks for has next. Yes, it has the next element. The cursor points to this element. Again when you say it dot next, this is going to give you the element, and it keeps going like this, and it accesses all the elements. Okay, so if you run this again, you can see the output of 10, 20, 30, 25, 35. Okay, so if you have any further logic here around, so what you can do is you can apply. So say for example, I wanted to print only okay, only multiples of 5. That is what my requirement. Okay, print only multiples of 5. That's what my requirement. So what I do, so I'll just add a condition on top of this object, and this is object, right? So, and whatever the elements I have added integers, so here let me typecast this to what, integer. Okay, how to do typecasting? Integer of obj, because I'm going to perform arithmetic operations on top of object. I cannot do that. If it is integer object, then I can perform element 5 equal to 0, then only I wanted to print, otherwise I do not want to print it. Okay, so now I'll print this. Okay, element or object, anything is fine. Okay, so do you understand? During the iteration process, so I have some logic here. Of course, if you have certain logic to perform, then only you will have to iterate it. Otherwise, no need of iteration and all. There is no point of iterating through. Okay, so now this logic is what? So printing only the multiples of 5. So I am expecting only 25, 30. Oh, of course, these are also right. 5 2s are 10, 5 4s are 20. Then I'll do multiples of 10. Okay, I will do multiples of 10. Okay, now you can see the options 10, 20, 30. Only the output is 10, 20, 30. So I have filtered out the remaining elements because they are not multiples of 10. So that is what you should understand, the requirement. Like why do we need the iterators? Okay, so if you have a collection object and you wanted to iterate through the each element of the collection, and during the iteration you have some logic to apply on the collection elements. In that case, okay, so go with this cursors. Okay, now so here we have iterator, right? So iterator, you can go to this is the interface introduced in 1.2 version. Okay, so iterator has methods has next and next. Do we have any other methods? We have a remove method, and for each remaining, these are the advanced concepts introduced in the latest version. This is introduced in 1.8. Okay, so we'll speak about 1.8 features also. Okay, remove, if you try to remove, so it will throw unsupported operation exception while iterating, so you are not allowed to remove anything. So these are the methods. You have an iterator interface. Now come back to our example, iterator example. So I'm calling this iterator method on top of what? On top of what? My list. Meaning that l.iterator. So I should be having this iterator method implemented in this iterator. Okay. So this is array list class. In the array list class, so I have a method iterator method which is returning iterator. Okay, just creating a new IDR object and returning. What is this IDR object? So here you can see this is the private class, inner class, which is implementing the iterator interface. That is what actual iterator. Okay, this is the actual iterator. This is what this iterator is implemented by a private class as part of array list class. Okay, implementing this and has next. So it is returning cursor not equal to size. It is going to check the cursor and the size. Okay, both are not equal. Then so meaning that it has the next element. Okay, so in the similar way so next method is implemented to return the next available element. So it is returning the element data from the array. Element data is an array of the array list. Okay, that is returning the last returned value. This is the index basically. So it's going to return the next available element. Okay, anyhow, so you can read through this code if you want later. Okay, ultimately what you have to understand is, okay, array list has implemented the iterator interface. That's what you have to remember. Okay, a top level array list is implementing this. Okay, but as part of inner class you have one more inner class here. What is that? ITR. So this ITR is implementing the interface iterator. So this is okay, this will be used, ITR will be used as part of array list only. That is why so it made as part of inner class. This is another inner class. We call it as private inner classes. We have seen some example of static inner classes in the previous example. This is normal class, a normal inner class, private inner class. Okay, so I have come back to this. Okay, so not this one, right? This one. Okay, iterator example. So hope you understand about this iterator process. Okay, so if you wanted to do, it dot, okay, remove. During the iteration process, can I remove an element? So 10, 20, 30, I got it, it got printed, and this remove method is it implemented in our array list inner class? You can just verify. Remove method, if it is implemented, then fine. So here, yes, they have implemented. That is the reason we did not get that unsupported operation exception. Okay, so if it is just removing from the array list, count is reducing, and so yes. Okay, so you are able to remove it. Okay, during the iterator. So if you want to remove, so you can remove it. Now what I do is it dot remove of. Okay, I'm trying to remove all the multiples of 10s. I'm trying to remove the multiples of 10s from my array list. Okay, all right, now come back to this and let me print the list again. What I'm doing now, I'm just removing the multiples of 10 from my array list. So are those removed or not? There is an interview question. So can we remove an element while iterating through a collection? Okay, yeah, we have a support in the array list, so which is implemented, the remove method is implemented, and we can do that. Okay, if I replace this array list with the linked list, okay, so does it work? So instead of array list, I'm using linked list. Of course, you can use it. Okay, right, now run this and see is it working or not. Because in the linked list also, they must be implemented the iterable. Okay, okay, so implements, you should be seeing something, implements iterator. Okay, so remove method is implemented. Okay, remove method is implemented here also. So itr the list iterator, this is what the list iterator. So here this guy is implementing list iterator. As part of that, it is implemented. So in the linked list also, that is implemented. The remove method is implemented. So you can make use of remove method for removing the elements from the collection while iterating through. You can remove it if you want. Okay, the next thing is, can I modify it? Okay, so can I update it? Okay, so here element, this is what my element, or obj whatever. So okay, obj.it.next obj. Okay, so after conversion, element equal to element plus, okay, element plus 1. I'm doing this. So meaning what? I'm trying to update this element, okay, and then I wanted to add it back to my list dot add of element. Okay, so I'm meaning that I'm trying to update my uh, collection. I'm trying to update my collection. You can see that an exception here, concurrent modification exception. Okay, this is important in the case of interview. Okay, so can we modify the collection while iterating through? We cannot. We'll get concurrent modification exception. So while iterating through using the iterators, you are not allowed to change the structure of or updating the data of your collection. Okay, so this is not possible. So you cannot modify, you cannot update your array list during the iteration process using the iterators. Okay, so linked list. So let me set it back to array list. Okay, now this is what iterator example. We have something called a list iterator. Okay, we have something called a list iterators. So that's what we just seen in the linked list case. In the linked list case, we have a list iterator class, list iterator, implementing what? List iterator. Okay, this is also introduced in 1.2. We have iterator and list iterator. List iterator is extending what? Iterator. List iterator is extending what? Iterator. So this is going to give extra benefits along with the iterator. So it is keeping whatever the functionalities it has with the iterator. Along with that, it has some additional things also. This has next and all, those are available in the iterator, and these are the specific to this. Has previous, okay, previous index, remove is already there, set, okay, add, okay, we have these things. Okay, so add method, so we can navigate in both the directions. That is what the advantage of this list iterator. Okay, in case of iterator, okay, in case of iterator, you can navigate through one direction. So if you have a list of elements, okay, you can just navigate in this direction. for iterator. For iterator, you can navigate in this direction. But if you go to list iterator, you can navigate in reverse direction also. That's what the extra advantage you are going to get with the list iterator. Other than that, both of them are same. Okay, so list iterator supports both. Supports both navigating through or iterating through. That makes more sense. Okay, iterating through the collection in both the directions. In both the directions. Make sense? Okay, so iterator supports only forward direction. One direction. Okay, got it? Iterator supports only one direction, forward direction. Now let's understand this iterator example. Okay, let me create list iterator on top of it. So just you need to use this method list iterator. This is going to give me list iterator object. This is going to give me list iterator object. Okay, anyhow I have all integers. Let me be more specific. Okay, so here also what is advantage if I keep like this? This is called generic. So I think I have shown you an example already, but we'll discuss in detail as part of the generic discussion. But for now, what it does is if you specify this type, it allows only integers. If you try to add other than integer, if you try to add anything else, it gives error. It gives error. Okay, so that's what restricting the type. So it's becoming more like you are making it more homogeneous. Okay, so that is what the generics does. So in that case, you don't require this typecasting also in the earlier example. So here you don't need to typecast because this is going to return me integer only. So next, oh come on, of course here I just need to specify the type. Okay, integer. So id.next is going to return me integer directly. Okay, so if you specify the type, you do not have to typecast it. Okay, to avoid the typecasting issues, class cast exception issues and all, so we got the generic support. Okay, so if you observe here list iterator, okay, I can do the same operations here. List iterator dot has next. If there are elements, then I can move the cursor in forward direction and I can access it. Okay, in this case I am not going to perform any logic inside that, just printing it next. Okay, I'm just going to print the next element. Okay, I'm just printing next element. Okay, so this takes to the cursor in forward direction. Okay, now again, so I can, if I want, I can move it back as previous. We have method something called as previous. If there is a previous element, then yes, you can access that li dot previous. Li dot previous. You can access the elements. You can access the elements in both the way. Let me run and see. Let me add one more print statement in between. So reverse, accessing the elements in the reverse direction. Okay, right. Run this. Yeah, so if you look at the elements, okay, Okay, so here it should have printed the multiples of, no, we are removing it, right? We are removing multiples of 10. So after that the list is what, 25 and 35, only two elements. So this is going to, okay, this is going to print nothing. Can you see, can you observe this? Yeah, it is printing this here. It is printing, this is what the print statement, this print statement 29th line, and this is what printing iterating through the list and printing in forward direction 25 and 35, and this is printing in reverse direction 35 and 25. So that's what working with iterator and list iterator. Okay, okay, you have a support of what, you have a support of forward direction and backward direction in case of list iterator, where we do not have that, support in case of iterators. Okay, right, just we have seen an example of iterator and list iterator. Let us look into enumerator also. We have something called enumerator. This is introduced in 1.0 version itself to deal with the vectors. So vector is introduced in 1.0, okay, which is a legacy class to deal with that. Okay, so we have enumerator. All right, so I'm going to create a vector. Of course, I can create like this, right? Okay, so we dot add of elements. We just add the elements. Okay, enough. So now I wanted to iterate through them. So we have something called enumerate. Okay, where is that? Okay. Enumeration, not enumerator. Okay, but anyhow, okay. The method name is elements. It's not something like, okay. So the method name is elements. Okay, so you do not have to by heart anything, do not have to remember anything. So Eclipse supports always while you are working. Okay, v dot elements. So this method is going to return the enumeration of all the elements. So it has more elements and the next element. Okay, two methods. Okay, has more elements and the next element. Okay, so this is what it is. As part of this method, if you observe the source code, it is creating a new enumeration object. Okay, because enumeration is an interface. Enumeration is an interface introduced in JDK 1.0, where it has two methods, has more elements and next element. To access it, only two elements, and this is being implemented as part of your vector. Where is that? If you click on this, so here this is vector dot class. As part of this vector dot class elements method, so they have created this one. Okay, this is also, okay, this is creating object, right? We cannot create object for interfaces. We can create objects only for classes. Then what about this? So this is what anonymous class. This is the way of writing anonymous classes in Java. Okay, anonymous classes in Java. So yeah, so this is what, this is also inner class. Okay, as part of vector, so this is implemented. So we have different kind of inner classes. We have static inner classes, private inner classes. This is another one, anonymous inner classes. Anonymous inner classes, this is the way. Anonymous class is nothing but the class with no name, doesn't need, we don't have to create that as a separate class, because I don't require that any, apart from this I don't require that anywhere else. So you can just simply create an anonymous class implementation and return that object. Okay, so these kind of anonymous classes will be written in most of the event handlers, button clicks and all. Okay, anyhow, I'll definitely take a session on the inner classes. But why I'm saying now, because we are looking at the source code. As part of the source code, they have used all the concepts. Okay, right. So this gives you better understanding, like whenever you're discussing about a particular concept, by looking at the source code, you will understand the concept a bit better, more better. Right, come back to this vector example. So here v dot elements enumeration e. So I can just go by this has more elements. While has more elements, we can just print e dot, what is that, next element. That's it. So this is the way of iterating through enumeration. This is iterating through the enumeration. You are going to get the elements. If you want to add any logic over here, you can add it. This is for vector. Okay, this will be used for vector, and it supports only forward direction. Only forward direction. Only list iterator supports in both the directions. Okay. We have these three cursors. We have these three cursors. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so cursors available in collection framework. We have enumeration, iterator, list iterator. Enumeration is introduced 1.0, and you can see here the stuff examples. List iterator and iterator we have. So it supports in both the directions, bidirectional cursor. Okay, so you have these methods, next index, previous index also. So this is what the chart given to compare all the cursors. Okay, so enumeration, iterator, list iterator. Is it a legacy? Enumeration is a legacy one, and it's applicable for legacy classes using elements. So you can only read, you cannot update anything with the enumeration. And in iterator, you can read and remove also, but you cannot update. But if you in case of list iterator, you can read, you can remove, you can replace, you can add. It supports the other things. So list iterator is the best one to use. Okay, it's a single direction. This is also single direction. This is bidirectional. Okay, these are the methods available. So this just explains the differences. Okay, all right. So all right. So yeah, we'll continue tomorrow with the set stuff. Okay, perfect then. Okay, that's all for today.